What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Kyle, aka Clean, and today I will be talking about a lesser talked about subject, and that is proofing your client. Yes, folks, we are doing screen print color separations, and what people don't normally talk about, you hear a lot about index and CMYK, but really is receiving artwork, talking about artwork with the client and proofing it. So let's get down to it. The first thing I'm going to do is, let's say a client supplied us with this artwork. Now, obviously, I'm downloading it from the internet. It's public domain, free for commercial use, no attribution required. It's perfect for this tutorial. So let's download this, save it to my desktop, and you'll see it there. We'll go ahead and close that out and open it up with Illustrator since it is a vectored image. Now, a lot of times you'll get a JPEG, a PNG, you'll get something weird. That's all fine and dandy. Don't worry too much about that. Why isn't this opening? Let's open it up from the desktop. All right. So let's say our client provided this artwork here. I'm going to zoom out. And the first thing I want to do is some reconnaissance on it. It looks like it's all vectored. That's good. I don't want to overwrite the original file, so I'm going to go ahead and save this as something else. A lot of shops have their different naming conventions. Let's say that the client is calling this design chimp. So we're going to call it chimp vectored. And then we'll save it as an Illustrator file. And then a lot of shops will save it to a NAS drive or a server or something similar so everybody in the shop can open it up. But for this purpose, I'm just going to save it to my desktop. Now, let's take a mile-high view from this and just kind of look at the design. First thing I'm noticing here, this is usually when I grab a pen and paper, because what I'm going to be doing right now is coming up with concerns or questions or overall ways I think it should be done, so that when I go back to the client, I can, have formulated thoughts and really, ask the important questions. Now, so at this point, I grab a pen and paper and just kind of jot down some stuff. Now, what do I see? What do I see here? This mile-high view. I'm seeing in here this design is being cut off a little bit, that eyeball. Now, the client may or may not want that. I'm thinking that the client probably doesn't want it. So let's go into the artwork here and kind of look. It looks like if I select this, yeah, that's that eyeball, and I bring it above that. Yep, fixed it. So I could take a little screenshot of this, put a little arrow to it, and say, hey, I fixed this little eyeball, is that okay? But you don't want to go to the client 10 different times. You want to, formulate a few things. So let's continue on to see what else we're seeing in this design. Overall feel, it looks good. There's objects, I'm seeing here that it's RBG. RBG is okay in most cases. We will be making spot color separations out of this design, so I tend to change the color mode to CMYK. Now, when I did that, it changed ever so slightly to a bit of an orange here. Now, from experience, these oranges don't print as well as you think they are going to. It's kind of like a flesh tone, and so I tend to stay away from the real orangey flesh tone colors. Also, I'm looking at this, and what size do we want it at? It's sized at 10 inches, but because this is vectored, we can size it any size we want. I'm thinking let's put it at 12. Now, it didn't go from the center, so let's put that in the center here and then size it. And that sizes it from the center. We're seeing that it goes off our artboard now, so we'll make our artboard a little bit bigger. All right. So I'm also seeing that we might be able to eliminate some colors. Let's talk about the colors here. Let's find out what colors are in the design. Go ahead and hit Command Control A, select everything in the design, and just click this little folder here. And we'll name this Chimp Colors. Now, I'm seeing 6 colors in this design. So a question we want to ask ourselves is, do we want it at 6 colors? What color shirt is it going on? Are we going to need a base? All these are going to be questions that we're going to come back to the client with. So I would jot it down here. I would say, okay, I fixed the eyeball. Is that okay? Is 6 colors okay? What color shirt are we putting this on? What color shirt? Maybe they're asking you what color shirt they think it should go on. If it's going on a white shirt, we can eliminate this white color. If it's going on a black shirt, we can eliminate the black color. Another thing you have to take into consideration is what size press are you using? Because if we have a 6-color press and we are putting an underbase on here, while it may be 6 colors, with that underbase we're going to push it to 7, and that won't be good. Also, I'm seeing this brown here. Let's make sure that is brown. Yeah, it's a really dark brown. You could, let's see where else in the design it is. So I'm going to hit select, same, fill color. Yeah, it looks like it's only in the nostrils. A lot of times I'll also check the strokes. So I select the stroke, assign it that brown, and do select, same, stroke color. And nothing was selected, so there's no dark brown strokes in here. So I'm thinking maybe we recommend to the client that we change this dark brown that's in these nostrils, maybe even to a black. Now what I just did there was I assigned it a black stroke. So I'm going to hit Command or Control Z to undo that. Notice these are still selected. And I'm going to change over to my fill color and now change it to black. And that really didn't alter the design too much, and it may save your client a little bit of money. Perhaps you charge by screen. If they're doing a low run of this, say, 24 or 48 shirts, eliminating a color might actually save them 50 or so bucks. So that, you might get some brownie points maybe by eliminating color. Other times though, they may say, no, this is our logo, we want it that exact color, that exact thing. So you really have to be careful, really feel your client out. Now, we're looking pretty good here. I have a few notes taken down already. Let's talk shirt color on this. A lot of times your client will come to you with a shirt color in mind. We want to put this on black. We want to put this on white. But other times you might approach them and say, hey, instead of putting it on white, let's put it on a natural shirt. I mean, you as a designer or as a color separator have a little better feel of color theory. I mean, we have a lot of browns in here. Why not make it, instead of white, an off-white or a natural color? So we will be proofing this, but I think maybe we put a shirt color behind this. So what I'm going to do is make sure here, a lot of times these vectors won't be grouped. So I'm going to start organizing this. I'm going to call this proof, and I'm going to call this artwork. And now I'm going to put a shirt color behind. So I'm going to go ahead and select my square tool and make a square behind it. Now notice it covered up the design, so you can drag it below. Another way of dragging it below is hit Command Shift and the front bracket. That will push it all the way down to the bottom. And let's assign this a natural color. But wait a second, what is natural? Where do we find out what natural is? It's generally when I grab my my internet, and go to maybe Haynes. Let's say they want to put it on a Haynes natural. You could type in Haynes PMS. Let's see what we get here. Yep, that's the site. Or Gildan PMS, or whatever shirt manufacturer. A lot of these manufacturers do put out CMYK values for their shirt colors. So what did I say? Natural? Let's find out what natural is. Yep, they have a natural. Shirt style is also going to matter too. Sometimes they don't carry the color in that shirt style. So do your homework. And if they say we want to put it on this style with this shirt color, make sure it's in stock. Make sure that you can get it. Now what I do is I always write down the CMYK values. So the naturals is 0, magenta is 3, the Y is 8, and the K value is 0. Now what does that mean? I'm looking right here. This is CMYK. So remember, I changed my design to a CMYK color here, or document, and I am going to change this background to a natural shirt color background. So we'll go in here, new swatch, and we'll keep it a process color, and we'll just type in those values. 3 tab, no, it was 0 tab, 3 tab, 8 tab 0, and hit enter. Now all of a sudden, instead of a black background or a black shirt, we have a natural shirt. I usually like to keep it separated from my design, and I like to name it. So at this point we'll call it something. We'll call it shirt color is natural. And I'll go to my layers, and I'll call this shirt color. That way I don't get it confused with an actual call out. And I can actually center it at this point to my background. Now I selected both and then clicked on the background, and using these fancy dancy little things here, I can center my design. So we're looking pretty good. Do we want this shirt being on the front or back? That's also another important thing to consider. So ultimately what we want to build is a proof. Now, to build a proof, you kind of have to really kind of look at this and say, okay, so right now we're looking at 5 colors, because remember we changed that dark brown to black. So let's go to our options and our swatches here and select all unused. Yep, that dark brown went away. So now we have 5 colors. We know well, we don't know, but let's assume that we're going on a light color shirt here. We wouldn't need an underbase. So that's good. So at this point, I'd pretty much take this design. I don't know. I'm thinking this orange in this design may not be a good orange. All that in here. I'm thinking we may want to lighten it up. Again, if this is client supplied artwork, you have to be careful about changing things like this, but perhaps it would look better if we select the same fill color so we have all the I'm going to call it tan. Let's call all this tan here, and we go in and we kind of lighten it up a little. Now, does that look better as a monkey? It might. That might be more what they were going for. So, maybe give them another version, one with that darker and one with the lighter. But I'm kind of liking the lighter a little bit better than the darker. Who knows? Who knows what your clients are thinking? So that's why we proof everything. Now, to send a proof out like this, what I would do is the first thing I would do is make sure I know what kind of colors we're working with. I see here we have a stroke here. So maybe we let's go ahead and hide the shirt colors, select everything, go to Object, and expand it a little. And then after we expand it, we'll trim it, and then we'll merge it. And then we'll make sure that there's no transparency fill colors. Object, fill color, select the fill color. Okay, so there's no empties there. And we did break it up a little, but I think that's good. I think we're looking pretty good. What we could do at this point is, group all our colors. This is destructive, so we have to be careful at this. We really haven't gotten into the, okay, let's make it this color phase. But, I'm just grouping up these colors. So this was our tan. This is our black. This is our brown. This is our white. This is our dark brown. And I noticed here that when I did that, these little strokes here got thinner. So I'll put that back on top there. Yeah, we're looking pretty good. I mean, you don't have to do that. In fact, you can't do it if there was a gradient. Let's just make this a gradient here real quick. Use my gradient. And let's say that it went from a dark brown to a dark, what? Oh, I know. From a dark brown to a light brown. Now, obviously, I wouldn't do it, but if I go to my object, expand here, it's going to expand this gradient to a mesh, and that's no bueno. We don't want to do it. So, like I said, this is a spot color, so we were able to, create layers here. The other thing is, if this was a pattern, we wouldn't be able to do that, but for this color or this design, we could. And we name this color seps. All right. So I think at this point we'd probably do assigning some spot colors. Now, there's many different ways to assign spot colors here. You could select the item. You could go into your dark brown, make make sure all your dark brown's selected, and do spot dark brown. That's one way of doing it. Yeah, we'll continue with that way. Another way of doing it is selecting, just say I select that little tan there and that ear. I do select same fill color. We could do it that way. Double click on this, go into your spot colors and call this tan, and go to your brown, make sure they're brown selected, call it a spot color, brown, go to your white. Now notice we do have white here. If we re-enable this shirt color, sometimes that will be empty and you need to create a white here, a white there. Like, for example, if this was deleted, you can see its shirt color there. That might be a way to eliminate another color. If you say, if you had, you know, a 4-color press, let's say, you could make those eyeballs, and making this a tan shirt might actually go with the design a little better. So these are all things you want to bring up with your client. If you need to fill these in, I'm going to show you a quick little trick on that. You can go to rectangle tool here and make a rectangle behind those eyes, or in front of those eyes, and then you'll bring it down below, and then these eyeballs right here, what you can do, there's several ways of doing it, but I'm actually going to bring it even below the shirt color. So let's turn off this shirt color, and then we'll do these color steps. And basically, if you hold down Command and do trim, sorry, just click trim, boom, all of a sudden we got our shirt color back in there. I mean, our white's back behind that. You can fill in colors that way. It did mess up our callouts over here, so that's just something that you could do. So what I was doing there is just hit Command or Control Z to back out of what I did. All right, so I think we're pretty much set to proof. I have all my notes taken down. This was that white. I have all my notes taken down, so I'm about ready to talk to the client. I'm about ready to talk to the client here, and but before I do, I always like to proof this. So I usually save a template, and so I do have some templates saved. This one's my proof, and I click a new and I hit open. These are my proof templates. Now I know I have 5 colors here, but I don't know what those 5 colors are. Oh, I didn't assign spot colors for everything, so let's assign spot colors for everything. So the way you would do the way you would let Illustrator pick your colors for you is by selecting the group here, and there's a little flyout right here, and you can do your color books, and for solid coded is pretty much what you want because we're using Plastisol inks. If you weren't using Plastisol inks, you could switch it up a little. If you hit OK now, it's going to save this color group as different colors. So that is something to be aware of. it will kind of give you a starting position here of what those are. So before that was dark brown, now it's Pantone 4625. So you can, I really don't recommend doing it this way. And the reason being is because, let's look at this black here. If we go to this black, it called out a black 6C. Now, we don't want a black 6C, we just want black. So if we just want black, we have to move all those sliders down and hit black. Now, we're going to have to name this something different, so we'll call it black with 2 underscores, and that just changed everything to black. So let's select this here, and notice when I select my black, these were all changed. So we're going to have to reassign our color swatches here again, and that's because we changed the swatch names without having the color selected. So we'll go back through and select all these. And I'm using my hotkey right now. What else? White. And this white looks like it's an off-white, so let's make it an actual white. And call it as such. Again, that's not a necessary step, but now at least we have some PMS callouts that we can kind of get a starting point to. And if we don't change the color, we just change the name, it shouldn't affect our Pantone here, or our assigned colors. Tan, let's see, that was a dark brown. CMYK. Let's just make sure though. And then we have this black, okay. So if I select that, yes, our dark brown is still selected. I select that, our dark brown, or our brown is selected now. Select the tan, our tan selected. So one way to proof this, or to just double check, is if we go into our separations preview and we want to make sure that all our spot colors are assigned. So if we go to overprints preview and we turn off the CMYK, we can see our spot colors here. And if we turn everything but one layer off, we can see, okay, well, that's our black, that's our brown, that's our dark, so on and so forth. Let's turn off that black, yeah. Now, if we didn't have something assigned at this point, let's say, let's go back to our layers, and let's say we had some text in here. We'll say chimps. And this is just to show you what your separations preview would look like if you didn't have a spot color assigned. So this right here, let's just double check here, is we'll go into our swatches here, and we'll do color libraries, and we'll make sure that it's not assigned. So let's select chimps and assign it this black, and we'll put that black in our swatches. So now we know this black here is a process color, and we'll verify that. Yes, it is process. Okay, so let's see what that would look like in our separations preview. Notice it went away when I took off that CMYK. Same thing with the shirt color background. So those are both process, which is good. That's what we wanted to see. Now our shirt color is not going to be assigned spot because it's the shirt color. We aren't printing films for a shirt color. Now, at this point, we're pretty much good to go. And a lot of times what I'll do at this point is save my color library. You don't have to do this step, but I tend to do it. And I'll just call it chimp colors or colors v1 or something of the sort. Save it as an exchange file. And you don't really have to do that, but a lot of times you want to know what colors you started with. Photoshop, that makes a big difference. In Illustrator, not so much. All right, so I think we're ready to put this on our proof. What I just did there was copy it. So, before we put it on a proof, I do a save as, and I do, I'll just save it. I won't save as. All right, so this is what we're going to send to the client. So let's go ahead and put it on a proof. Now, when I put things on a proof, I like to show it a couple different ways. So the first thing I do is I place the design. Now, I usually proof this at so that they could print it out, or a size that would be amenable to be printed out. Maybe they're taking it to their boss or something, or they want to show it to multiple people. Remember, we have this in CMYK, so if they're printing it out, it's perfectly fine. We're not going to get color shifts. Also notice that all our swatches came over with the design. That's good. Now the way I pasted that in there was I went to my chimp vector, I selected everything, hit Controller Command C, go into here and hit Controller Command V. So I have that there. Now we're not doing a back of a shirt here, so let's go ahead and get rid of the back of this shirt. We can go into our artboard, delete that artboard. Notice nothing changed here. I have it set up for a page 1, page 2. So let's go ahead and delete that because we're just doing the front of the shirt. And I give this a name. So we'll call it chimp. That way the client kind of knows your naming conventions as well. Front mockup. And we'll go ahead and do our color callout. So let's do let's do it in the order that we would print it. Now, print order will vary, but just in general for spot color, it's dark to light. And I'm going to kind of clean this up a little later. So what I just did there was, whoops. And we can throw page 2 in the trash because there's nothing there. I locked the background. So what I did was I assigned colors. Now these two colors aren't actually in the design, so we can just use our direct selection tool and hit delete on our keyboard. They'll totally go away. Delete, not backspace. All right, so now we have our 5 colors. I like to keep a relatively clean a clean workspace. So what I'll do here is I'll make sure that all my layers are named. We'll call this a proof. And I'll go in and delete the swatches that aren't spots. Well, these are spots, but they're not used in the design. So let's go ahead and delete all these. There is an easier way of doing this, but I'm not going to do it that way. So how I was selecting those was hitting Control and Shift, holding that down and selecting them all, and then hitting delete. So we deleted that. So now we just have our 5 colors here. It looks pretty good. One thing I do is generally like to add a little flare to it, so I put a drop shadow behind our shirt color, and that's looking pretty good. Not behind the design, because the design does not have a drop shadow. But if a printer is printing this, sometimes they'll have a little hard time differentiating the shirt color, say a natural from a white. So that's always good. Now, we go back to our vectored here, and we always want to tell the client what size we're doing. So 12 inches wide by 11.3. And so I'll put that in my, what was it, 11.3 was it? Just double check that, 11.4. So I'll put that in my proof. I think that's always important to have. I'll put, usually I like to put a placement. So a lot of times, if you have a supplier of t-shirts, let's say, for example, your supplier is Americana Sportswear. And I like to get the shirt style that we're using. For this one, we'll use the tagless. And you can click on it and just save image as. And this is mainly just to kind of show them what it would look like on the shirt, where the placement's going to be, and that sort of thing. So I'm going to open up that that t-shirt that I just saved, and I'm going to go into my proof. And what I'm going to do here is, you could do it, you could get fancy and just kind of delete some of that away and use a PNG and stuff. I think what I'll do is I'll delete that background, in fact, because it's making it hard to proof here. So we'll do that, and we'll put this shirt all the way in the back, but kind of close in the back here. And we'll just copy V and size it to about what we think it's going to look like on this shirt. This will kind of give them placement too. And so and I usually like to tell them their shirt color. So 5 colors on natural. And sometimes I'll even do on natural and put the style number. So we did a Hanes 5250. On a natural Hanes 5250. And let's line that up. You always want to be personable to your clients, so I tend to do that. Now, we changed the colors here, but notice it says white on a dark brown. So let's go ahead, and I like to do it in my order here. So dark brown 4625. Or we could even call it just brown 4625. We'll call this, what one was that? Brown 470. C just means solid coated. is what, tan 7514. Again, you kind of want to be a little careful with giving callouts. Sometimes it doesn't look good when you put it on the shirt. Sometimes it looks good on your monitor, but it doesn't look good when you actually print it. So, to be a little careful about giving the client callouts. Sometimes, though, you can get callouts, and if they approve it and it doesn't look very good, then it's on them. But generally, you will make unhappy clients doing it that way. So always make sure that it looks good. Now, looks good is in the eye of the beholder, so sometimes getting callouts is the right thing to do. All right, so this is kind of one of the proofs I would send out, and so I would save this, and I would call it my chimp mockup v1, save, and we're good there. A couple things here. Had I placed this, like say, no, never mind. I won't talk about that. So 5 colors on natural Hanes. We have our callouts assigned. They're black. I say note scaling of the image on the T may vary as the T size ranges from small to XL. So because they don't know if this is a small or a 5X shirt, I always like to tell them that this is approximate. It's not like exact. We saved it. And now your client's probably not going to have an Illustrator file. So I saved it as an Illustrator file, but you'll probably want to save as and do it as a PDF. And I always do an Acrobat 8. Now, whether or not you want to send the client back all this information, that's up to you. If you turn off some of this stuff, what you can sometimes get a smaller file. You don't want to be sending attachments in your email that are, 10 megabytes. So depending on how big your mock-up is, like say they had a left sleeve and a back and something printed along the bottom, they did, 4 or 5 placements. As we get more and more pages and this looks bigger and bigger, their file size is going to increase quite dramatically. So sometimes I like to turn off preserve illustrating editing capabilities. But again, that's your call. So I did save it as an Illustrator file. And so if we look here, I do have the mock-up saved. So let's look at our proof. And I always like to look at my proof before I send it out. Everything's looking pretty good. So at that point, I would attach this to my email, and I would, in the body of the email, ask them, hey, is it okay if I change that eyeball? Are my callouts okay? Meaning I changed the orange to something a little less orange. I think it'll look better. What do you think? Is my shirt color correct? Is my, shirt style correct? And are there any suggestions? Do you want it, bigger questions, anything that you may see? And if they like it and they approve it, then you're good to go. If there's any other questions or comments, please let me know. Otherwise, like, comment, and subscribe. Talk to you later.